This is every German ship of World War II. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, submarines, even disguised raiders and coastal vessels, over 70 ships. Some legendary, some terrifying, some absolutely devastating. Let's start with the big guns. Battleships and battlecruisers. Bismarck. The pride of the German Navy. This massive battleship was over 800 feet long and packed with firepower. It sank the British battlecruiser Hood in just minutes during its first real fight. The British hunted it across the Atlantic and finally destroyed it in May 1941. It was Germany's most famous warship. Tirpitz. Bismarck's sister ship. Churchill called it the Beast. This battleship spent most of the war hiding in Norwegian fjords. It never fought another big warship, but the British were so worried about it they had to keep huge naval forces nearby just in case. Bombers finally sank it in November 1944. Scharnhorst. A fast, powerful battlecruiser with an impressive combat record. It sank the British carrier Glorious and raided Allied shipping across the Atlantic. The Royal Navy finally caught up with it at the Battle of North Cape in December 1943 and sent it to the bottom. Gneisenau. Scharnhorst's twin. These two ships operated together on several successful raids. After getting badly damaged by British bombers while in port, it was eventually scrapped and its guns were moved to coastal fortresses. Admiral Graf Spee. A pocket battleship designed to pack heavy guns on a smaller hull. It hunted merchant ships in the South Atlantic with deadly results. After getting damaged in the Battle of the River Plate, its captain decided to blow it up rather than surrender. That happened in December 1939. Admiral Scheer. Another pocket battleship that worked brilliantly as a raider. It attacked convoy HX-84 and sank multiple ships. It sailed in both the Atlantic and Arctic, pulling off one of the longest raiding missions in naval history. Deutschland. Later renamed Lützow. This was the first pocket battleship. It did some Atlantic raiding early on, but spent most of the war training new sailors and bombarding targets along the Baltic coast. Heavy and light cruisers. Admiral Hipper. The first of its class, this heavy cruiser fought in the invasion of Norway and did a lot of Arctic operations. It was known for powerful guns and impressive speed. Blücher. Admiral Hipper's sister ship. It has the unfortunate distinction of being sunk by Norwegian shore guns during the invasion of Norway in April 1940. One of Germany's earliest major losses. Prinz Eugen. Probably the most successful heavy cruiser Germany had. It sailed with Bismarck on that famous mission and survived. It later made the daring Channel dash back to Germany. This ship actually made it through the entire war. Emden. A light cruiser used mainly for training. It was Germany's only working light cruiser when the war started. It didn't see much combat, but trained thousands of sailors. Nuremberg. A modern light cruiser that worked mostly in the Baltic Sea. It laid mines and trained crews. It survived the war and was handed over to the Soviets afterward. Leipzig. Another light cruiser operating in the Baltic and North Sea. A British submarine damaged it early in the war. After that, it mostly trained new crews. Köln. An older light cruiser that took part in the Norway invasion. American bombers finally sank it while it was docked in Wilhelmshaven in March 1945. Königsberg. Sister ship to Köln. It was the first major warship ever sunk by dive bombers. British aircraft destroyed it in Bergen Harbor during the Norwegian campaign. Karlsruhe. This light cruiser also invaded Norway. On the way back, a British submarine torpedoed and sank it in April 1940. Destroyers. Z1 Leberecht Maas. The first of Germany's Type 1934 destroyers. These ships were the backbone of the destroyer fleet. They were powerful, but had engine problems that plagued them throughout the war. Type 1934A destroyers. An improved version with better range and stability. Ships like Z-14 Friedrich Ehn and Z-15 Erich Steinbrink fought hard in Norwegian waters and up in the Arctic. Type 1936 destroyers. Further improvements led to this class. Ships including Z-17 Dieter von Reuter saw major action. Many were lost during the costly Norway campaign in 1940. Type 1936A destroyers. These had better anti-aircraft guns added. Ships like Z-23 and Z-24 were among the best destroyers Germany built during the entire war. Type 1936B destroyers. A special version designed for the brutal conditions in northern waters. They had more armor and bigger guns than earlier types. Narvik-class destroyers. Called Type 1936C, these were the final evolution. They combined everything Germany had learned from all the earlier designs. Only a few were finished before the war ended. Torpedo boats and E-boats. Type 35 torpedo boats. Fast attack craft the Germans called Schnellboote. The British called them E-boats. These small vessels attacked Allied convoys along the coast using speed and surprise. Type 39 torpedo boats. Larger boats that worked alongside destroyers. They were effective in shallow coastal waters and fought numerous battles in the English Channel. Type 40 E-boats. The best version of the fast attack boat. They were incredibly quick, heavily armed for their size, and nearly impossible to catch at night. Submarines. Type 7 U-boats. The backbone of Germany's submarine force. Over 700 were built. They operated everywhere, the Atlantic, Mediterranean, and Arctic. Their wolfpack tactics almost cut off Britain's supply lines completely. Type 7C U-boats. The most produced submarine of the war. Famous boats like U-96 and U-552 were this type. They had good range, carried plenty of torpedoes, and could dive deep enough to escape most attacks. Type 9 U-boats. Bigger, long-range submarines built for distant operations. They hunted off America's coast, down in the Caribbean, and even reached the Indian Ocean. Type 21 U-boats. Revolutionary submarines way ahead of their time. These were the first real submarines, designed to stay underwater most of the time. They had streamlined hulls, huge batteries, and advanced snorkel equipment. If they'd entered service earlier, they might have changed the whole Atlantic War. Type 22 U-boats. Smaller coastal versions of the Type 22 design. They were built for shallow waters like the North Sea and English Channel. Type 2 U-boats. Small coastal submarines. Sailors nicknamed them dugout canoes because of their size. They were used mostly for training, but saw some action in the North Sea. Type 14 U-boats. The famous milch cows or milk cows. These were supply submarines that refueled and restocked combat U-boats at sea. This let the attack boats stay out much longer. Disguised raiders. Atlantis, Ship 16. The most successful disguised raider of the war. It looked like a harmless merchant ship, but was actually armed. It sank or captured 22 ships during a 622-day voyage. It sailed across the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans. Penguin, Ship 33. Another highly successful raider. It even captured an entire Norwegian whaling fleet down in Antarctica. The British cruiser Cornwall finally destroyed it in the Indian Ocean. Thor, Ship 10. This raider made 2 successful voyages, sinking many Allied merchant ships. It even defeated the British armed merchant cruiser Voltaire in a straight-up fight. Cormoran, Ship 41. famous for sinking the Australian cruiser HMS Sydney in November 1941. This was the only time a disguised raider destroyed a real warship. Cormoran went down too in that fight. Michel, Ship 28. The last raider still operating. It hunted ships in the Indian and Pacific Oceans before an American submarine sank it in 1943. Orion, Ship 36. Operated mainly in the Pacific and Indian Oceans, it laid huge minefields that sank several ships, including the New Zealand liner Niagara. Coastal and support vessels. Speerbrecher. Special mine-clearing ships. These vessels sailed ahead of naval formations to set off mines with their own hulls. Most were converted merchant ships. Dangerous work. Voorpostenboote. Coastal patrol boats used for dealing with mines, hunting submarines, and escorting convoys near shore. They were essential for protecting German-controlled coastlines. Mine layers. Purpose-built ships like Cobra and Kaiser that laid thousands of defensive mines around German ports and occupied territories. These mines destroyed countless Allied vessels. R-boats. Minesweepers called Räumboote in German. These small ships did the dangerous job of clearing mines from shipping lanes and harbors. Without them, ports would have been unusable. Landing craft. Special invasion barges built for Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain that never happened. These boats were later used for coastal operations and supply runs. Armed trawlers. Converted fishing boats pressed into military service. They did patrol work, escort duty, and minesweeping. Their tough construction made them surprisingly hard to sink. The German Navy fought with determination, even though it was vastly outnumbered by the Allies. From the mighty Bismarck to the deadly U-boats that nearly won the Battle of the Atlantic, these ships represented years of engineering skill and strategic planning. Though Germany ultimately lost, the Kriegsmarine left a lasting mark on naval warfare history.